Welcome guys, welcome to this video. So in a few videos back, we worked on an API using PDO and PHP, and the API endpoints are here, you can see on the screen. So we are going to add this Swagger documentation. So you can see here we have each of the routes. If you haven't checked that video, this is the video, and the link is in the description. Please check this video before starting on the tutorial, because in that video we created the complete API and all these endpoints, and here in this video we are going to add the documentation to all of these endpoints. So if you see here, basically we have get route, we have post route, put, delete. If I click any of these, we get the option of try it out. You can click there and hit execute, and we get all the data just like we tested in our app. So in our app here we have the same route, we hit send, and we get all the posts the same way we are getting it in our documentation. Now we are going to see multiple things here. We're also going to see how we pass the parameters, how we pass the objects, how we destroy because when we are going to get the single record, we are going to pass ID, so those kind of things, and we are going to complete the documentation for our API. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, to start with, I'm on the page of download the zip for the API. So you need to download this. The link is also in the description. So the API that we created, we have the zip for it. So I save it. I'm going to extract it here, and yeah, we have the Sky folder here. So what I just need this folder, and I'm going to change this to test because currently we are going to use the test, and you can maintain whatever name you like. I'm just changing it just to handling my local host because I already have a small project on Sky. So here I have test, and what I'm going to do, currently this is displaying from test. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rename it and put something, and we're going to paste it here. So we have our test here now, and if I go here and refresh, you can see this is not anymore available. So our code is brand here. Now we need to open it with the code editor, drop this to the code editor. So here it is. Now we mainly have, I'm gonna have here API. So we have the API endpoints here. Then basically these are the files. So if we want to insert something, we will be going into test API, then post, and after that we need to go to this file which is insert.php. So that's how it works. Currently it's blank because it's not going to work straight away. There are going to be some errors. We need to correct it. We just downloaded it. So, and then we can config. We have database class, and where we have our database connection. So we need to make sure our database is there. So we have a database connected here with the name of test. It has two tables, posts and category. Post table has these fields and some data already present there, as well as in category we have the category name only, and in post table we have category ID. So the related ID from this, like for 3ID here, is the ID in this table, like it refers to this Java. Alright, so that's good so far. Now what we need to do, basically we have a models directory, and there is a class we have which is the post class, where we have all these methods. Those are responsible for reading and inserting and updating data. So everything is happening from here. So we need to put the endpoints to the Swagger documentation. So for that we go to the Swagger API Swagger-UI. So if you go to just search simply Swagger UI and you follow the link from the Swagger IO, there you will get the option of download Swagger UI, and that will take you to, ultimately if you click here, it will take you to the same link. So here we need to download it, or we can clone it as well. So what I do simply, alright, so I need to open the directory, the htdocs folder where I have this project and localhost test in my terminal. So these files will be there. So let's go and do that. So I open the terminal here and I say cd --- and then here I say ls. So I have my example here, so I can go into it. cd samp and then htdocs, and there we should have our folder with the name of test. So I go inside it simply, so I say cd test and then ls. So we get the same files. You can see here API config model and readme text. Brilliant. Now at the same place we want to get this Swagger UI, so I go here and I simply copy this. We are going to clone it. So here I'm going to say git clone, and put the link, and then it is going to clone it there. Now if I go to directory, here if we say, so you can see we have the Swagger UI folder created. It's going to take some time because it's downloading right now, so we need to wait till it completes. Now this is complete, and if I go back to the folder now, we can see there are so many files in here. And inside these, what I'm going to do, we're going to, I want to show you a website before we proceed. So if I go to the browser and search Google, and all you need to do is simply Swagger and PHP. When you hit this, you come to this is our code .github.io, just click there. And here you will see the documentation, how things work and how we have reference, we have user guide. You can check here, you get the game annotations, what annotations we need to add. We will be adding these annotations in our code very soon, so you will see there. So this is the site to check if you face any trouble. Now what we need to do, back to the code, if I go here, what we need to do basically, inside the API directory, along with the post, we are going to create another directory. It's going to be documentation, and here we're going to handle everything. So I'm going to call here a file with the name of index.php, and that's the file which is going to display us all the documentation of Swagger. So this is the file. So what we need to do here, we need to go into Swagger-UI. Inside here in folder, you will see an index.html file. We need to copy everything from here and paste everything in here. So in the index.php. So this is the file we are using. Now, the other thing we need to do is we need to update the path, because the files are now, because this file is going to use CSS. So you can see that the folder is here and we are calling it inside index.php. So I'm going to do here, I'm going to add here ..dash to one folder out, another, and after that we want to pass here Swagger UI, which is the folder names, Swagger-UI, and then we have CSS. So this is what we need to pass. I'm going to pass here as well. Then here, same way I'm going to pass it here for the JS files. So if you get the point, basically all we are doing is move one file from there, but we want to use CSS and JS from the Swagger-UI, so we are just updating the path there. Alright, so far so good. Now what we need to do, we need to create a file, because what happens is Swagger uses JSON. So whatever functionality we are doing, we need to convert it into JSON. So in the model we have post model, and here we have these functions. So we need to put these functions in a JSON file so that Swagger can understand it. And for doing that, if I go here in the Swagger-UI, scroll down, you will notice here how they suggest we need to do it. So okay, for the installation I will refer to their this is our code in github.io website. Here if I go to installation, we have option to run Composer and install it. Alright, we need to also install this code Swagger PHP for P command, but at the end I'm going to put define the version number. We're going to 3.2.0, and this is the version we want to install, so make sure you get the same version. Now also we need to install one other package here. So it's a Composer required doctrine annotations, so we need this as well. So it's gonna add automatically all version you have by composer.json, and there it's going to show you the version. So we have the exact version we need. So both the commands are done, and this is all set. So what we need to do currently, we need to create a file. So if I go to the documentation here, what they suggest is generate open API documents. And when you go inside this document, scroll down, you will see using PHP, we need to use this. And what is it exactly it is going to do? It is going to scan a directory where we have our PHP files, and it's going to convert it to JSON or YAML. So we are going to convert it in JSON, so we will be changing the code a bit. So what we're going to do here, inside documentation, I'm going to create a new file. It's going to be api.php. I'm going to copy all this code from here and paste in here. Now here I'm going to say it's going to be JSON, and same here. Alright, and now it is going to do the required stuff, whatever required for our process. Now the thing is, this is only using an autoload file. This autoload file is present inside vendor folder. So if I open this folder, you will notice here autoload. Now here it says straight away vendor, but it is not next to API. So we need to change the directory. I'm going to put here this. So it's going to go one folder out of documentation, then another folder out of API, and then going to go inside vendor and autoload. So it will be able to access it. Or you can use another approach where we simply say, let's say, I'm going to show it here. So you can say here $_server, and you can simply pass in this array. You can say document _root. So it's going to get the root directory. And then what we want to do, we want to give the folder name of this application. So we created the directory, if you remember, we pasted here inside htdocs, and that's test. So we need to pass that here. It's going to be test, and before that they're going to be slash here, and then test. After that we are going to go into the models. So we have a models directory there. We have a post where we have all these functions. That's the reason we need to give that directory here. So I'm passing that here, and here I don't need X. Okay, so it looks good, it's fine. So what we need to do, we need to check it how it works. So all we do, we go back to here in our app and refresh. We go to API documentation, and here we need to say api.php. Alright, so we get this currently, and it says not found, and yeah, so it's currently going actually. If you see here, it's trying to create an object here. It says open API version, but it also says that there is some issue. We don't see OA info not found, so it's not getting it. So basically, if I go back here and go in annotations, scroll here, you will see here that this is this quite similar thing that we are getting in our alert. So that's what we need to fix now. So basically, we need to add these in our model so that it is going to recognize it. So I go back here, copy this, go to the model, and here it can be model, it can be controller, wherever your API, how you are working with. So here on top of this class, I'm going to paste this like this. Alright, and here we can tell about our app, what the app it is. So I say here PDO PHP REST API. You want to define a version, you can define a version as well. I say 1.0. So if I go back this time and refresh, and you can see that the same error with the info is gone. Now we have path item and something else going on, but the first error is gone. Now let's deal with the other one. So for this, we are going to work with the read posts function, because we want to read the post. So if I go to postman, let's see if we are getting it. So we have get, we are going to the same URL. So here we are going to test API post, so we can check that here as well. So it's going to be post, and then after that we have post.php, just like that. And you can see we're getting result here. The same way if I hit send, I'm getting the results here. So we are getting the posts, right? So we want to have in our documentation this route saved, and we want to mention that this is getting all the posts. So let's do that. So here, where we have our comment, we are going to do here, I go back here again, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste right here. All right. Now here, first thing first, we need to mention what method type is. It's get or post. We have get, so it's all right. Then we need to pass the path here. The path is going to be this path. So we're just going to copy this. So this is the API path where we are getting it. Now you want to add summary to it. Posts. All right. And just going to make it a line. Now we want to put everything inside posts category or tag, so we can simply say here tags equals, and I'll show you what it does, but for now I'm just going to add it, so I'm going to call it posts. Alright, so this is what it is. Now if I go back here and refresh, we need to go to that API file again, so I'm going to copy this and open a new tab and paste here, and go back here, API/documentation, and documentation API. So basically we need to make sure we can put comma at the end of a statement, and then if I go here and refresh, we get our JSON. So you can see here open API version, then we have info is title that we provided, path, we have the API path, we are telling put it under posts tag. There is summary added here, then we have operation ID that is generated, and then we have response. Now I want to change it a bit. I'm going to copy and paste here another response, and I'm going to call it, so whatever you put here, make sure it is a comment. So another response, I'm going to say here 404, and here it's going to be not found. Not found. Another thing I want to add here is the comment that we have on top. I'm just going to copy and paste that in our summary. So to be basically, so we don't provide any comment here, it's just going to be here by default. So if I go back here, refresh, all stays the same, summary updated. Now we have one more response here, and now if you want to see what we do, we simply go to documentation directory of this. I copy this, go here, and paste this here. Now what exactly I'm doing here is, because if you go to any directory and there is index.php there, that's going to display. So here currently index.php is working, and if you remember, we have the Swagger code given inside it. So here we need to do is inspect console, and if you notice here we have an error. That means the directory is not correct and we are not loading our JS properly. Alright guys, let's correct this error here. So we need to check in swagger.ui, if I go to dist, and then we have index.html, and that's the code we're using here. So all the JS files and CSS files are here in this folder, so we need to mention it after swagger-ui. So here we say simply dist like this, and I put it here as well. Same way we need to add it in our CSS file links. So here, and then here, and then here. So it goes Swagger UI, then dist folder. It was this, right? Yeah, and then the files. So it should be fine. Refresh, and we have it. So you can see here we have now great, by default it is loading a link that is mentioned in the code. So if you go here, it says https pet store Swagger, and then that is loading. So we need to modify this to make it work with our code. So we have here our code like this. So we are passing the JSON here. So just going to copy this link, go in here. It's going to be HTTP, not HTTPS, and rest we're going to paste like this. Now it is going to load from this file. So if we go back here and refresh, okay, it's taking HTTP twice. So sorry about that, I added it here. And refresh. Okay, great. So we have the posts here, and we are getting this get route. So if I click here, you can see here method to read all. So what summary we provided here, that is showing up in detail. We are not using any parameter in this one, but the URL is the GET request. If you want to check, you can click try it out, execute, and you can see the results. So it's showing just like Postman. We have the response showing up here. Now let's add it to the other methods. So if I go back here in the post, the second method is the getting a single post. So for that, simply what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to paste here, just like that. And then method, I'm going to cut this comment to the summary. All right, then we have the URL. So for reading the URL, remember in our API we are using single, and then we are passing the ID. So we need to do something similar here. So the file going to be single.php, and here we have the tags post. If I go back here and refresh, you will see we have here. So what tags does, if I say here, let's simply remove this line. So if I remove the tag and go back and refresh, you will see it goes in default. So we have posts, routes here, and default here. So if you want to have a separate category, you can add it like that. So I'm going to have everything inside posts, as it's posts model we are working on, so I'm passing this. Great. Methods, responses going to be these two. Now I'm not going to change there, but we need to pass an ID here so that we can read. So that's going to be a parameter type. So for passing a parameter, what we do, we simply say here at OA, and after that slash capital P, and we say parameter, and then we start here like this and put comma for sure. And after that, inside it, what we want to do, we want to define all the parameters. So here, just I'm gonna say here, name is equal to going to be the ID. So we want an ID, and it's gonna be in equals query. All right, and then we want to say required, and then up to you what you want to say here. Required true. Is it required? In our case, it is true. And then at last we want to say description. Okay, so here I'm going to say the ID passed to get query string, to get data like in query string. So like in we pass in query string, we're passing here just the same way. Again, put a comma. After that, what we want to do, we want to mention the schema for that at OA capital, and then we say here schema capital S and schema, and after that brackets, and then here inside it we are going to mention the schema. So it's going to be type, and we want to say it's a string. Okay, so far so good. Let's see if it works. Go back there, refresh. We don't have any. If you face any error in here, most probably you will see error here. Otherwise, your route will be disappeared from here. So now, if I go here, we have option of ID and string type, and we need to pass it. So you can see here the ID pass to get data like query string. The description that we added here, it's showing up there. So that's helpful. Now, when you can try it out, you need to pass an ID. So if I go to Postman, we have the posts with ID 10 here, so I can pass ID 10 and execute. So scroll down, we have this detail coming up, so it's a success. So if I go to Postman, the same details are here, you can see. Alright, so we have successfully added the route for our documentation with the parameter type. Great. Now let's work further here. We need to get here another method, which is to create a new post. So it's going to be a bit different because it's going to be type post. So I'm going to copy the whole code and we will change it. So paste here, and obviously comment goes to the summary again. All right. Now method going to be post. And here file going to be insert. Now Tag, we want the same category, so it's going to be there just the same way. Parameter, I'm going to change this portion because this time we want to pass values. So if I go here in Postman and go in insert query, so here when we insert, we pass the data using form data. So, or in the application we are expecting using post, so we need to change it. It's not going to get from here. So to pass the post values, what we do something like this. So here we are going to say it's going to be at OA / response, and it's a response, request. It is request body, and then make sure it is like that. Then here at OA, and then it is going to be media type, again parentheses here, and we want to add more data inside it. First thing first, we want to pass here is the media type. So we're telling what type of media we are passing, and it is going to be multi-part form data, because we are passing we are expecting values from post, so there's going to be from form. So at OA, and the schema we need to define, capital S schema, and here we're gonna pass the values. Alright, so values we want to pass here is like at OA, and each value going to be called property, and in each property we will define the type and the name. So let's do that. So here we want to say, okay, it's going to be property, and which is going to be type title. It is the name of it. So the field name is title, and then type string. Okay, we have few properties here. So for inserting, so when we go here and we get it, so we have few fields here, and we are getting category name, but in the database when we insert data we have category ID, so we need to pass that way. So I'm gonna simply copy this and I'm gonna align it. Alright, the same way, come again, paste again, and like that. So in database we are expecting title, category ID, description. So all these three we need. Second going to be description, and then going to be category underscore ID. This is going to be type integer, and string, that's fine. Alright, all good. So it looks fine to me. Let's test it so it works. So go here, refresh. Okay, something is not right. Okay, we need to pass commas. Make sure you pass commas. Other than that, request body, media type. Let's refresh. Okay, great, all set. We have another one here, the insert bar this time. Now when I open this, we have the title, description, category. So if you can see here, type here, form data. So if we try out, so we say here, let's say title, some title to test Swagger. Alright, some description to test Swagger, and category, that's at 2. And when I execute it, and we get post added successfully. So this response that we get, because in the creation we are saying true, and when it inserts we returning that, and when we're returning it, and that's happening inside. If we go to API post, and for insert here, scroll down, we have here post added successfully. So from here it is coming. So that's why it says here post added successfully. So if I go to database and see here, you can see that we just got a new record, which is from the Swagger documentation, and that's great. So you can have documentation, you can have all the details about it, what fields are there, what fields types are there, what is the purpose of this, and again you can test it as well. Brilliant. So we have 3 routes here. Let's add another 2. So let's go to the post model here. If I go, and now we need to work on update. So update is going to be quite similar to the create. So I'm just gonna copy the create and I'm gonna paste here. All right. So this, and I take the comment, put in summary. So you can put anything you will like, so that makes sense to your application. File name, this time it's going to be update. Now for understanding of these routes, please check the previous video where we created this API, otherwise you will be lost. So here we have put, tag is going to be posts. Now here request body, we need to add one more thing because we are going to update a particular post, so we are going to do it by the ID. Because if you see in the code, we are passing params, we have ID here, and then we are saying where ID is this, update that particular post, so we need to pass ID. So all we need to do, add another property. And if you guessed it right, that property is going to be the ID. So it's going to be ID, here it's going to be integer. Let's test it out. So go here, refresh, we have put request. Method for updating posts. Yeah, here we have all the fields given, and try it out. So now I'll go to the postman. Here I go to all posts. So here, if you see, we have a post with the ID 10, and this is the detail. So I want to change it. So I say post with the ID 10 and updated using Swagger. Updated using Swagger description, and category put it 1. All right, now execute, and we have an error. Let's see why is that. So it didn't give us the response that we are expecting. So back to the code. Okay, so for this we are going to change the media type. For updating, we are going to change it to JSON. Here, if I go back and refresh, and this time you will see that it's changed to JSON, and we have a JSON object here. So try out ID the same 10, and I'm gonna pause here updating using and category ID 1, execute it, and we get post update successfully. Now if I go to here and send again, and with the ID of 10 you can see updating it using Swagger, so it updated it. Okay, so if I go to the code here in update, here we are getting the values. Go to update.php. So this is done using object here, you can see. So we are getting the value and then converting it into params and then passing it. That's the reason when I was trying to insert using form data, we got an issue, and in the code we had to change it to JSON. So that's important, because if you go to the create method, we use the form data there. So for create we have insert.php, and there we are using, you can see here, post. So if data comes from post, so we are using both here actually. We have for object here and for post here. So if it is post, it is going to do this code. If it is object, it's going to do this. And for our update, we only have for JSON. So that's the reason we needed to change that there. Okay, so far so good. So far we have our 4 routes, and update is working as well. So brilliant. Now let's add the last one, which is the delete. So here's the method. Now delete is going to be quite simple. So what I do, we take from read single, this one. So scroll down and paste here, changing the description with our comment. All right, here it's gonna be destroy, because the file name is destroy here. Now method post, and we need to pause here. Now let's see what we're expecting there. So if I go to destroy.php here, we are again expecting the JSON here. So let's deal with that. Here we are passing parameter, and we need to pass body type actually. So I'm going to copy this from here. I'm going to paste here. Okay, now here all we need to do, we need to pass the ID, nothing else. So we have the ID, we are passing it there. If I go back here, refresh, okay, we have it here, but we need to change this method to delete. Okay, refresh, we have delete. Now let's see if it works. So we need to pass object and JSON, we added it there. Now let's delete 10. So execute, post deleted successfully. So if I go to Postman, hit again, you can see post with the ID of 10 is not there. So even you don't need to go to Postman, you can simply go above here because you have the first getting all the posts. Try it out, execute, and you will see that there's no post with ID 10, it's deleted. So let's delete this 7th one as well. So I'm gonna go here and I say try reset, pause here, ID 7, execute, post deleted. Let's go here, cancel, try it out, execute, and you can see that 7th is gone as well. Alright, so you can see that we created an API. Now we have all the endpoints of that API. We have all the details what these endpoints are about. We can check, we can pass parameters, we can pass objects, and we are successfully holding it. We can have this documentation in our application, so you can have it there because your application is here. You just created a documentation directory, and further your documentation goes, so you can access it any way as you like. You can have multiple if you want, just create another tag and it's going to work straight away. Hope you like this. This was it for today, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.